the human's desperate, need to discover the truth. God has these books, to discover what was happening, historical findings, but has brought us to this moment. So it is not divinely coming out. It's like discovering what the divine interaction or communication at that time was. How were they divinely communicating with God, or what was bringing them to have this marvelous, strange, miraculous events that was taking place, and for us to get to the bottom of it, whether it's true that those things really happen. And I'm sure we're still searching, we're still doing all those, others' curiosity is still taking that far, in archaeological sense, in a religious sense, and people are making all the steps to look to find out. There are others who have become stagnant to the moment where they are not moving on in any grounds. They are only align themselves to hold on and believe, because there are statements that suggest that if you believe, you did not know nor believe, see anything, but yet you believe. They literally take it in some way, their understanding of it, like, yeah, that's what it means. I don't have to necessarily be there at that time, but if I believe and I trust, then definitely there is that glorified moment which I'm bound to enjoy or have come to my life. And even though people have been disappointed in all that, they still hold on to it. So it's like, what is faith going to take us? What has faith got to do with anything if there's nothing out there to verify, or there hasn't been a clear path to which we can prove our grounds? Because as I said, if you read Matthew 24, you can have a clear statement coming from another author there explaining false prophethood in diverse ways of what will happen and what might take place. The falsehood regarding this the Christianity itself, nothing to do with Islamic necessarily, but there are other forces, because they've all come together to to sort of present their case to their fellow humans, or to themselves, or to the entire globe, to say this is the right thing that we have come across, or this we believe is true. Whether it makes sense or not, that's what we have to accept. So if you go to the Christian circles, and you're looking to the Bible, because that's the main circle, you find out in Matthew 24, you see what is the challenges that's been put before false prophets, that you have to look out for false prophets. People will come in diverse ways, making wild claims, claiming that they are what you are expecting them to be. They are that, they came from there, God has inspired them, they have good messages, and it can be knocking at your door. It could be any form, a very friendly approach. That's what I mean. It will end you up in that trap. Now, some are very aware of the situation, some are deeply convicted to it, and they are doing as they have believed, have trusted that is right thing to do. So honestly, they are approaching it in an honest way, and blindly do not know that they themselves are trapped and they are doing something which is irrelevant. Unless they go out of that circle, then they become aware and enlightened straight ahead. Oh, really, this is the true shape, this is the true idea of these presentations. Now I know what the idea is, I know what is in there. But if you sort of take the mantle of studying, even going into any religion, there is a group that keeps pursuing to study and show the agenda of the day, ways by which the whole fellowship can be pursued, way by which it can be presented. So if you decide to go to Bible school, or you go to a religious studying school, whether it's been Islamic or it's been whatever, these are the convictions of the group of people who have established this institution, and they are going to teach you along the line how you can present it, how you can make your message sweet and palatable to your audience, how you can get people to accept the message as being truthful and honest. So you are not actually ready seeking for truth, but you are there because you have believed and accepted. Out of knowing nothing, you have believed that it is true. And so in your convictions, you are there, and they are only there to help you, in a sense, to build more on the lies that you have entangled yourself into, that you have believed, you have accepted. That's what it's about. That is my reason, and the reason why I feel that it is necessary that you go outside, study with an open mind, go outside these circles. Whatever the institution is, whatever place, just go outside of it and personally look at it. If you can read and write, that's it. Because it is clear from one point, from what we have said here, that since the message has come in a discriminative way only to the educated, it's another point for us to see that it's not coming from the utterance from the Almighty God. Because it is not education that gives us the language we speak. We can literally or naturally acquire our languages. We learn verbally from as you grow, but education in some ways is a sense of helps you to know other things outside of what you already know. So if God was to speak to people, he can speak to educated people and non-educated people at a go with no problems at all. But this isn't how it's being presented. We know that it's coming from an end, from educated people who have discovered things and they believe it's the right thing, and they are presenting it to others. And so it becomes necessary for it to be translated, for it to reach out to the non-educated and the educated. So any means is being derived to get to that point or that level. So basically, when we know this on the back of our mind, then we are accepting the fact that the words in those books, where it has come from, the advices there, they are just pointing it to some tiny bit of the facts that we are supposed to know. And let's take those facts, turn it around, see if it's coming from the greater sense of knowledge of God that we are supposed to have, and then we can move on from there. Is it necessary for even God to bring this message? We can all figure it out as time goes on. But as I said, in just a small Christian world side, because we move from one denomination to the other, we can find out that the words even in there, in so many ways, reveal or exposes the group itself, or some of the people from the group. It gives you the idea of suspicion of what the evil that might erupt as a result of what recent accounts or accounts of the future that may be, whatever it might be. And it gives you instant examples for you to look out for, signs, to be saying that actually signs. I know that's the right way of saying it, not necessarily examples, but signs that you may look out for in that sense. And as I quoted from Matthew 24, it's clear about seriously opening up to, let's say, false prophethood, the idea of presenting something and being something else, or using the image of something to gain some status of admiration from your victims that you want to attack, or you want to take control over their lives. And that has been the case, because if you talk of today's presentation, where the practice is not what is being presented, is not what's supposed to be presented, it does not give us a good practical relations when it comes to what the book wants us to practice. Then we say to ourselves, what image or who is carrying us along this line, deviating us from the course of which we are to claim our faith, to the extent that our mental, our mind and approach has changed entirely. I'll give you the main idea of what I'm trying to say here. The example here is look at the book, look at the Bible, look at the history, look at the genealogy, the background, look at the laws, and all the presentations of how the Jewish people, or let's say the Israelis, or those that are seen as the true people who had a good relations with the Almighty God, what we are supposed to believe as the Almighty God, and his name to be Jehovah. Now, as we are talking in the back of our mind, we are also talking in a sense of what a Jewish man is supposed to think